Take my
Let's
lighting.
go.
Let's go. High fives. Very nice. Well,
All
lucky
right, we're
you.
going. Thanks for doing this, Steve. All right, well, we are back to the Golden Duck Studios of the Newto podcast, and I'm so happy to have Steve Wiltz with me. I promise I'm not going to do that cheesy DJ voice the whole time. Steve is someone I met during the last year, I think from connecting on your comedy, man. I'm not exactly sure if it was that or through BNI. Maybe no, it was through BNI. Steve and I are both part of a networking organization called BNI. It's a fantastic organization for a lot of entrepreneurs that are trying to connect with other entrepreneurs and network and help each other meet new people. I'm going to switch it over here. Yeah, today's guest is Mortgage Pro Steve Wiltz. Steve is in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Steve is a successful influencer, even outside of his work as a mortgage professional. Were you trying to flag me down, Steve? I'm sorry, man. I wasn't trying to ramble on too long. Okay. Super. Steve is a mortgage professional that has a specialization in working with families who are going through divorce, but he also helps families in all the other situations. And Steve has really done something incredible. He has, in part, built up his business from social media, building up a really big following. And many of you may know him as the Write That Down guy, because he and his wife do comedy about marriage. How'd you get that started, man?
It was almost on accident. I write that down. I joked that I had to lend that phrase to Ryan Reynolds back in 2002 when he was saying it in Van Wilder. Because people will say, "Oh, you stole it from Van Wilder." Blah, blah. I actually lent it to him. I had to sign a non-disclosure, NDA with him for him to use it and everything. But God, I've said that phrase forever. And social media started out for me back in 2021 more and geared on mental health side of things. We've all been through a lot. I've been through my own thing. I've pushed through stuff. I've learned a lot. And so I was sharing a lot of that. And that garnered a pretty fair following, mainly on TikTok is where I was concentrating. I didn't do too much on the other platform with it. But then some life events happened. I jumped into mortgage. So I've been doing mortgages, just mortgage for 2.5 years or so. I was in banking for that before that. So I didn't really push. I never expected it to be a work related type thing. It was just kind of me being me, and that's who I am.
Right.
So, I always poke fun with my wife, and we've been together for 17 years now. I think an important part of that is joking around, and sometimes I get my points across to her in my videos. Where I'm like saying something like, next time your wife tells you or asks you to do something and then proceeds to tell you how to do it,
right?
Here's how you would get through that, whatever, right? And I make a funny joke about it because it's relatable, and I think that we all got to laugh.
So, man. I mean, you're kind of joking with each other, and I really love it when she does one, which is rare. But even though you're kind of kidding around with each other, you can tell that it's with love, man. That's what's so cool about it. And I think the people that watch you guys regularly know that you may be poking a little bit of fun sometimes, but it's the couple that jokes together, stays together, something like that.
Yeah, I get a lot of comments about that, and and I think it's true too. I mean, you can't make it through this crazy life without laughing, right? And so there's a little bit of truth to every joke, which I think she's caught on to, which is slightly funny. This is my comment. My content will sometimes reflect around some crazy some crazy thing that we went through just recently or something like that. And she's just like, I know what you're doing, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing either. So she gets it. we have fun together.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think you've been
and
more
now, yeah, I
so.
mean, you told me before that you guys are even starting to run into people that come up to you and say, "Hey, are you two the?" Didn't you say that happened at that happens when you're out?
I get it everywhere now. That was, I think the one I probably told you about was, we've been talking to each other for a while. I think it was in the airport. It might even have been last year sometime. But yeah,
Yeah.
we were heading to a trip and we were renting a car and
Right.
found so oh yeah, it wasn't. We were in Florida actually. It wasn't last year. It was in January, but renting
Right.
a car at the car spot and someone stopped and like, oh my gosh, I watch all of your stuff on, I think it was TikTok or Instagram or
Yeah.
something like that.
How's that feel when
And
somebody comes up to you and says that?
it's yeah, it's weird. I don't think of myself as an influencer or any of that kind of stuff, but I do realize that that visibility is pretty key, and it's kind of
Yeah,
neat. And it's
absolutely.
played out where I can write loans and help people relocate and do purchases in all these different states. So having that there, I never intended it to be a work thing. I really don't promote much
Yeah.
mortgage side on there, but maybe I'll start doing that a little bit more.
No,
So
it's and you were telling me that you've launched the YouTube now, right?
yeah, I've always had YouTube, but I never really concentrated on it too much. I think long
Yeah.
term, if you look at statistically, I want to say like 90% of advertising and content consumed,
Yeah.
last year and this year is going to be, short form video.
Right.
Um, and so I know that there's a lot you can do on YouTube for reach. Also, it's a whole different crowd.
Yeah.
Um, and I just started posting more consistently on there. And I think obviously, if you've got a good following on the other platforms, I think that you kind of have to that, or you go all in on YouTube. But yeah, that's starting to take off a little bit right now too. So
Yeah.
keeping up with it all is
Well, good.
the fun part.
Well, good for you, man. So, yeah. So for those of you that are watching that are trying to build up a following, for fun or for business or whatever, um, make sure that you reach out to Steve. I mean, obviously he's there as a resource on mortgages, but he may be able to teach you something about growing a following too. Um, on the mortgages, tell me what are you telling people right now? I mean, with rates are high, the prices on the properties are fairly high. What are you telling people to do when they're trying to make a decision right now?
Yeah, I mean it's hard if you look a year back, and I was telling people this a year ago. If you're going to wait for rates to come down, you're going to pay more
Hmm.
for the house. And if you really do the
Yep.
calculation on it, if housing appreciates 10% and the
Yep.
rate comes down 1%, you're still paying more, and you missed out
Yeah.
on all the equity that you had built up
Yeah.
had you had bought last year. And I think people are just they're still a little bit scared just because the rates are up there. Um, but all that stuff is just perspective. Honestly, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
hey, yeah, you're at 7.25, whatever it might be right now, but let's look 2 years down the road. If it comes down a
Yeah.
year or it comes down a point and it comes down 2 points, here's what your payment could be then. And
Yeah.
refinancing down the road is really where
Exactly. And
you
by
look at it.
then, exactly. By then, you'll have more equity. You're still throwing away 100% of rent.
Right.
Um, and somebody told me the other day that if you had, and I can't remember what day they said, but they said it in the 70s when rates started to get when they went above 7% or just got really incredible. If you thought, oh, I'll just wait until rates go down. If you waited till they went down below 7%, you would have had to have waited till like 93 or something. So if you're waiting for rates to go down to some dream rate, it may not happen, and you've got to live somewhere.
And that's the thing. I mean, what in the 80s rates were 17,
Yeah,
18%. I can't remember what they topped
right.
out at. But they didn't come down for a long time. And so will we ever see 2.5% again? I don't know. I kind
I
of doubt
doubt it.
that. But
Yeah,
getting into the high fours, maybe fives in a couple of years. I think that's a little
yeah.
more realistic, but that's just a prediction. I don't have a crystal ball. If I did, I sure as heck wouldn't be doing this. Crystal ball on something
you
else.
could be you could be trading interest rate futures and
Yeah, right.
be on the beach. All right. Well, also on the divorce specialization. You're one of the mortgage professionals that has a specialization in working with people that are going through divorce. What kind of things do they have to keep in mind for getting a mortgage? I mean, obviously if a couple is going through a divorce, one of them is likely leaving the home. So at least one person is probably going to need a mortgage. What kind of issues do they need to be thinking about?
I mean, there's a ton of moving parts when it comes to that, and the specialization is, I think it takes, a certain level of empathy and ability to
Yeah.
really like lean into some of that, because you hear some stories that are just, I mean, they hurt your heart.
Yeah, man.
It's not any kind of different information than any other normal loan officer doesn't have access to. It's just, where's the concentration? So when I'm looking at something, I see a totally different picture than
Yeah.
Joe Schmo from a different company. There's only about 800 certified divorce lending planners in the United States through this company. I'm sure that there's others that concentrate on it too, but
Yeah.
things like alimony and separate maintenance, when it comes to the family home, those have to be received for a
Yeah.
certain period of time before we can actually use them as income.
Right.
And so a lot of people might get to the very end of it and want to say, hey, yeah, you can stay in the house, but you got 2 months to refinance. Here's what I'm going to pay you, and for whatever child support, and then I can't use it. And we got to try and get really creative, creating income, and sometimes they end up having to sell. So really getting somebody involved, in the beginning part of the process, or even starting voluntary payments is something to look for. Every situation is just so different. They're all the same, but they're all so different. So
yeah. Well, that's important. I mean, unfortunately, there are a lot of people going through it, and they need to talk to people that are qualified to help them. And you work with people in a lot of different states too. How many states is it you're working with folks in?
I want to say it's close to, I can write in close to 40 different states. I think I've done 16 or 17. A lot of that's just been social media friends that I've made, or people will see it on my profile and say, hey, I need a loan. I need this, I'd love to work with you. You're funny, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So it works out, pretty well that way.
Yeah. So he's not just funny, y'all. He knows how to do the mortgage thing. One other thing I want to do is I want to tell people about Grand Rapids, just so that people know if they're not familiar with the area and they're going to be visiting, or they might be moving up there, or maybe they're from the area and they just want to hear a shout out. Tell me about Grand Rapids and how it's different from other
Grand
places.
Rapids is cool. I've grown up here. I was born in a different state, but at that age, I don't remember a ton about it. So I don't know that it's crazy different than a whole lot of other places, just because I don't have the experience. But it's neat that you have your centralized Grand Rapids portion of West Michigan, and then outskirts of that, you've got the lakeshore. That I think living here, we all too often forget that we have such a great resource, and beaches and lakes. Like some of the Michigan beaches, you can take pictures and it looks like you're in Mexico or you're in Costa Rica.
Dang.
From how cool it is there.
Yeah.
And there's just such a wide, diverse, area and people in general, things to do, heading up north. Everybody has if they talk about going to their cottage, they're heading up north and they're on a lake there, enjoying lake life. And so we've got a lot of that, which is neat. Grand Rapids is huge for the medical mile. So we do get a lot of medical people that do relocations here.
Okay.
I've done a fair amount of work with some of them. And there's a really nice downtown walkable living life, if that's your thing. Personally, it's not for me. I could never do that.
Yeah.
Chicago, I would lose my mind, I think. You can just get on the outskirts, and maybe I live 15 minutes from downtown, and it's a whole different world, right? Like, we're in a nice little homeowners area, but cul-de-sac in the neighborhood. And the hustle and bustle isn't quite as hustle and bustle as the downtown living would be. Uh,
Right.
I just think it's neat that you have such a highly advanced and technological area so
Hmm.
close, yet I don't have to be smack dab in the middle of it. So
Exactly. I
I
mean,
think
if you
we've
want
dubbed
to get,
ourselves. No,
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say, if you wanted to get to Chicago, it's not too far away, but
yeah,
um, much better or better cost of living, and you're not dealing with the traffic and um, all that good stuff. So um, now I know I've seen, I don't know if it was posts of yours or what, but yeah, you actually live on the lake, or you guys have a lake place that you go to, or
we have a family. Yeah, we have a family cottage about an hour north of Grand Rapids
okay,
that
yeah, yeah, that's what it
we get
was.
up to.
Yeah,
That's my
that's
happy
cool. So
place.
that's awesome, man. Yeah, I know what it was. Um, you were doing like a polar plunge. It was in the middle of the winter or something like that. That's what it was.
Yeah, it
It
was
was
New
some
Year's. I
post.
think it was New Year's Day, or it was either New Year's Day or New Year's Eve day.
Yeah,
And I love doing cold plunges. And I talked my 12-year-old into doing it,
yeah.
and she's hilarious jumping in the
She
water.
was
And it was,
brave. She did it. That was awesome.
yeah, yeah. I wasn't surprised that she did it, but I was happy she did. So
That's good. That's
I was like,
good.
that's fun.
I hear Joe Rogan talking about the cold plunges all the time, man. He's one of the biggest advocates. Um, I don't even think he's pitching a product or anything, but he's a big advocate on the cold plunges. And my brother is too. I know my brother just bought one of those cold tubs. He and his wife are doing that. I I'm trying to get ready. I'm not quite there yet. I like cold showers is as far as I can go right now.
Cold showers are worse. They're so much harder.
Oh, yeah,
If you're doing a cold plunge, because you're just immediately immersing yourself into it, it makes such a big
yeah.
difference as it being easier. And I think that because I've done the cold shower stuff too for a while, but just a tub. I think I have 100-gallon tub that as it gets warmer up here, which it won't get all that warm like Phoenix
Yeah,
or maybe Georgia or Florida or whatever, right? But it gets
right.
hot up here too.
Yeah,
Be hard to do them, but it's different. It's a lot easier just to boom, you're in. You control your
yeah,
breathing. It is such a I don't know. It's a mind clear for me. If I need a reset,
yeah.
it's so good for your body.
That's
So
so cool, man. You just gotta so you really shock the system. And if you do the plunge, how long do you think it takes for your body to adjust? Like 5 seconds, 10 seconds? Do you think you're good? I mean, like
uh,
when like I think I would be freaking out for the at least the first minute.
it wouldn't be that long. No,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
you just get your breathing down and because a lot of times you want to just hold your breath because you're just in that shock.
Yeah.
But when maybe 10, 15 seconds, it feels like a minute.
Yeah.
At first you're not used to doing it, but doing a full submersion too, like going under all the way, because you're gonna
Yeah.
usually plunge in your side shoulders, but full submersion and try to just hold my breath and try and go under for 30 seconds. And that
Yeah.
does a lot for your brain too. That's even harder. But oh, it's
Dang.
fun. It's one of those little
Good
random
stuff.
things you don't talk about all that often, but
Very cool.
it's neat.
All right, man. Well, hey, I'm going to wrap this up. But before I do you want to mention the TikTok or the Instagram, and we got to give a shout out to your other BNI people since we're promoting those BNI connections.
Yeah, we're part of BNI here in Grand Rapids. Why am I'm drawing a blank on our name? Gosh, that's horrible.
It'll come back to you.
Yeah, but we meet every Tuesday morning at 7. Great group of people. So too, if anybody's listening here locally and wants to come take a visit, I mean, it does wonders for your business and just being connected and
It
having
absolutely does. It
So
absolutely does. Yeah, we're going to continue to make this the podcast a free benefit for any of the BNI members that are connecting with us, and go on the Newto Media site. If you're a BNI member, you can become a trusted local provider on our map for free. And again, you can reach Steve at steve.wiltz@fcmhomeloans.com. Steve, thanks so much for joining us, and I look forward to catching up soon. We'll get this out there so we can hopefully make some more connections in B&I.
Absolutely. Come to Grand Rapids,
right.
come to West Michigan.
All right, sounds good.